Before the first egg even cracked, death was already climbing the tree. A snake moved slowly across the wet bark. Its tongue flicked out, its body pressed against the rotting wood. Inch by inch, it moved toward a dark cavity high above the forest floor. Inside were 3 white eggs. No eyes, no wings, no voice, no way to fight back. If the snake reached the opening, an entire generation would disappear before it ever had a chance to breathe. The mother woodpecker pressed her body tightly over the eggs. She could not carry them away. She could not hide them any deeper. She could not close the entrance behind her. Outside, the snake's body scraped softly against the bark. Then, a burst of wings tore through the trees. The father woodpecker returned. Knock. His hard bill struck the bark just beside the snake's head. Rotten wood flew into the air. The snake froze. The mother pushed her head out of the cavity and screamed. The father clung sideways to the trunk, his stiff tail braced against the bark, his bill pointed straight at the egg hunter. But the snake kept climbing. To the snake, that cavity was an easy meal. To the woodpeckers, it was everything they had left to protect. Knock. The father struck again. Closer this time. Harder. The snake pulled its head back. Its body slipped lower on the wet bark. For a moment, it stopped, tongue still flicking. Then it turned away and vanished into the roots below. The 3 eggs were still alive, but the forest had already delivered its first warning. In this place, a nest is never truly safe. A few seconds too late, and everything can disappear. Day 1. This was not a soft nest made of grass and feathers. It was a chamber carved deep inside a dead tree. The parents had hammered into the wood thousands of times to create it. Knock, knock, knock. A narrow entrance. A deep, dark room. A layer of rotting wood between the eggs and the outside world. But the cavity could also become a trap. Rain could flood in. A squirrel could find the entrance. A snake could climb back again. And if the parents stayed away too long, cold could creep into every egg. The mother kept the eggs warm in the darkness. The father flew out to hunt. He landed on another dead tree, gripping the bark with sharp claws. His stiff tail pressed against the trunk like a third leg. Then he tilted his head. Beneath the dead wood, there were tiny sounds. Larvae moving, ants shifting, beetles hiding inside dark tunnels. Knock. His bill struck the bark. A piece of wood broke away. His long tongue slid deep into the crack and pulled out a soft larva. This was not just food. It was warmth. It was strength. It was one more day for the eggs inside the dark cavity. Day 15. The silence began to crack. A thin fracture appeared across the first egg. Crack. A tiny bill pushed from the inside. Crack. The shell opened. The first chick came out wet, naked, blind and shaking. It was so weak, it could barely lift its head. Its skin was thin. Its eyes were sealed shut. Its wings were nothing more than tiny pieces of flesh pressed against its body. But it already knew one thing. Open the mouth. It opened its bill as wide as it could in the darkness. The second egg cracked. Then the third. The third chick was smaller. Its voice was thinner. Its neck was weaker. And when it tried to raise its head, the 2 larger chicks were already blocking the space above it. It had been born at the back of the line, and in a hungry nest, that can be a death sentence. The mother returned, with the first piece of food. 3 mouths opened at once. The largest chick stretched the highest. It ate first. The second chick pushed in from the side. It got the next piece. The smallest chick stayed at the bottom of the cavity, its mouth still open, its neck trembling. But nothing fell in. The mother flew away. The tiny mouth stayed open for a few more seconds. Then it slowly dropped. In the wild, no one steps aside to make things fair. Day 18. Hunger had turned the cavity into a non-stop fight. The parents flew in and out again and again. Wings beat through the trees. Bills hammered against bark. Wood broke apart. Larvae were pulled from the rotting trunks. Then the parents returned to the cavity and fed the mouths, shaking in the dark. But 3 hungry mouths never waited for each other. The biggest chick controlled the place closest to the entrance. The second chick learned how to force its way in. The smallest chick had to crawl through the narrow space between 2 larger bodies. Sometimes it was pushed down. Sometimes the food almost touched its mouth, then vanished into another beak. Sometimes it called until its voice faded, but the parents were already gone again. Its calls grew weaker. Its mouth opened slower. Its neck lifted lower. In the wild, a chick does not need to be killed by a predator. Sometimes it only has to lose too many meals. Once, the smallest chick barely called at all. It lay at the bottom of the cavity while the others rose above it, louder, stronger, and closer to the food. But when the next shadow appeared at the entrance, its tiny mouth opened again. Weak, slow, but open. Day 21. A squirrel appeared. It moved across the tree much faster than the snake. It stopped below the cavity, nose twitching. It heard the chicks. Chirp, chirp, chirp. To the chicks, it was a cry for food. To a predator, it was a map. The squirrel climbed higher. Inside the cavity, the 3 chicks opened their mouths, thinking a parent had returned. The father was not back yet. The mother was away. The squirrel reached the edge of the entrance. A small head rose in the darkness. Then the mother came crashing in. She landed directly at the mouth of the cavity, blocking the entrance with her body. Her alarm call cut through the tree. The squirrel jumped back, then tried to move around her. The father returned from behind. No circling, no hesitation. He drove straight into the squirrel. Wings slammed. Bill struck. Claws scraped against the bark. Scratch. The whole trunk shook with movement. The squirrel dropped lower. Then it tried to climb again. The father struck near its face. The sharp bill passed close to the fur along its cheek. A small injury could make the squirrel weaker for days. The risk was no longer worth it. It left. The cavity entrance remained untouched. The 3 chicks were still alive, but the smallest one still had not eaten enough. Day 24. The rain came. At first, only a few drops hit the leaves. Then, the wind rose. Water poured down the trunk and slipped through the cracks around the cavity entrance. Inside, cold air fell quickly. The 3 chicks pressed against each other. Their down feathers had started to grow, but they were still not thick enough to hold warmth for long. The mother crawled into the cavity, soaked from the storm. She spread her wings over the chicks. Her body shook from the cold, but she pressed down anyway, turning herself into a living roof. The father still had to hunt. The rain made the bark slick. Insects moved deeper into the wood. The sound of each strike was swallowed by water. Knock, knock, knock. He hammered harder. He pulled out one small piece of food. Not enough for all three. But he could not wait. He flew back. The largest chick ate first. The second chick got a small piece. The smallest chick lifted its head last. There was nothing left. It opened its mouth in the cold darkness. No food came down. That night, rain hammered the tree for hours. The two larger chicks pressed down on the smallest one, trying to stay warm. At one point, its voice disappeared completely. By morning, the mother shifted her body. The two larger chicks lifted their heads first. Then, from the bottom of the cavity, the tiny mouth opened again. Weak, slow, but still open. It had not won. It had only refused to die. Day 28. Their bodies began changing fast. Feathers covered more of their skin. Their eyes opened wider. Their claws gripped the walls of the cavity. Their bills started to harden. They were no longer blind pieces of flesh piled on top of each other. They crawled. They pushed. They fought for the place closest to the light. The entrance was no longer just the place where food appeared. It had become the way out. And the way out was the most dangerous place of all. Outside, there was wind, open air, hawks, branches, and the ground. The ground does not forgive wings that are not ready. The largest chick climbed up first. It pushed its head outside, looked down the tall tree, then pulled back immediately. Inside the cavity, it was the strongest. Out there, it was only a young bird that had never flown. The parents called from a nearby trunk. They flew short distances, landed, and called again. No explanation. No protection. Only sound and empty air. Day 31. The first departure began. The largest chick crawled to the edge of the cavity. Its claws held the bark. Its wings opened wide. Its tail touched the trunk. Then it jumped. Its body dropped out of the darkness. The wings beat wildly. Wind hit its chest. It fell for a moment, tilted hard to one side, then slammed into the trunk of a nearby tree. Scratch. Its claws scraped across the bark. It slid down, flapped again, and finally hooked one foot into a crack. It stopped, shaking, awkward, alive. A first flight does not need to be beautiful. It only needs to avoid the ground. The second chick left after that. It dropped lower, struck a small branch, then managed to cling to the trunk below. Now, only the smallest chick remained inside the cavity. It stood at the edge of the dark. Smaller, slower, weaker. The missed meals, the cold nights, and the times it had been crushed at the bottom of the nest were still visible in every careful movement. It looked out. Below it were bark, dead leaves, air, and distance. Staying was dangerous. Jumping was dangerous. Then a sharp cry rang out above the trees. The shadow of a bird of prey crossed the canopy. The father pressed flat against the trunk. The mother went silent. The smallest chick pulled back half a step. For a few seconds, the forest held its breath. The shadow passed, but it would not wait forever. The smallest chick crawled out again. It had survived the snake, the squirrel, the hunger, the cold rain, and the meals it never got. Now it had to survive its first fall. It jumped. The tiny body dropped straight down. Its wings beat out of rhythm. It tilted left. The trunk rushed past in front of it. The ground came up fast. 1 second. 2 seconds. It hit the bark. It could not hold on. It slid. Its claws scraped across the rotten wood. Pieces of bark broke loose. Its wings beat harder, but its body kept dropping. Scratch. One claw caught a crack. The chick stopped. Its whole body hung sideways on the trunk, wings spread, chest pumping. Below it, the ground was still dangerously close. It had not flown well. It had not flown strong. It had not flown perfectly. But it had not hit the ground. The father landed on a nearby trunk. The mother called from above. The smallest chick began climbing, inch by inch, using its claws, its tail, and its trembling body to stay attached to the bark. It had left the cavity. But leaving the nest was not the end. Day 38. The parents still stayed nearby. They still called. They still fed the young birds from time to time. But the meals came less often now. The lessons came more often. They led the chicks across dead trees and rotting trunks. They showed them where to cling, where to listen, where to strike. The smallest chick clung to a rain-darkened tree. It tilted its head. Somewhere under the dead wood, something moved. Very softly. It struck. Knock. The sound was weak, uneven, almost swallowed by the wind. No prey appeared. It struck again. Knock. Then again. Knock. Its small bill was beginning to learn how to open the tree. From a white egg hidden in darkness, it had become a bird that could cling, listen, strike, and search for food inside dead wood. It was not safe. It was not grown. It was not yet a skilled hunter. But on a wet tree trunk in the forest, the smallest chick kept knocking. Knock, knock, knock. And from that moment on, every strike was no longer the cry of a starving chick inside a dark cavity. It was the sound of a survivor learning how to carve its own path through the forest.